Hello, 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 everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Here, this is Viper Strike 95. Happy Friday, everyone. And today we're back with our Game Day Flight series. Today we're here in beautiful Argentina today. Yes, we managed to make our way into the Southern Hemisphere today. But we're not just going to cover any match in Argentina today. We're more specifically covering probably the biggest match in the entire country, if not the biggest rivalry in world football. And yes, it's the one, the only, the Super Classico. Now, if you guys aren't aware about this, the Super Classico is considered by many to be the biggest rivalry in probably the world. And it's particularly played by the two biggest clubs here in South America, in Argentina, Boca Juniors and River Plate. Um, Very historic rivalry, one of the biggest in the world. This rivalry, if I want to talk to you about it, it is basically like the El Clasico, but make it a local derby and then turn it to 11. That's basically what Super Classico is. It features many of the best players of all time have played for both these clubs, and both of them hail from Buenos Aires. In fact, both of them came around the same neighborhood too. This matchup has been around since 1913, and this matchup is absolutely insane. It's got so many great players, and the atmosphere is on a different level. Why I wanted to cover this rivalry today, it was by far the best game on the schedule. And when I was looking at our game day flights this week, um, there really wasn't many other games I would have picked. Boca Juniors River Plate was by far far and away the best game on the schedule. The only other game I would have considered was Lyon and PSG. Was probably the only other game on that schedule. But honestly, it doesn't compare to this one. This game is on a different level. So that's why we picked it. Before we get started, I do want to say hello to everyone in chat. Super Typhon, good to see you. Yes, there was an MD-11 crash that happened in Louisville International. Very tragic. I feel for everyone involved. Apparently, from what I found out about the MD-11 and from the crash, apparently what happened was the right engine caught on fire and it kind of exploded. And that happened while he was taking off and it crashed. And in fact, 13 people have died, including basically the entire crew, plus others who were around nearby. Absolutely tragic. It's rough for maintenance. I guess for some reason the maintenance is they haven't kept up with maintenance, but still very rough. That's just really tough to hear. Yeah, exactly, Sir Dev. Yeah, the left engine was gone and it just exploded. They probably didn't know about it by the time he took off. Very tough. Very, very tough. So here's our flight plan for this afternoon's flight. Let's go over to our nav map for this morning for this year's Super Classico, this next edition of the Super Classico. We'll start at Santa Fe Airport, Sierra Alpha Alpha Victor. And then from there, we're going to fly south to our first stop in Rosario. We'll land at Rosario Airport, Sierra Alpha Alpha Romeo in Rosario. Then from there, we'll head to a waypoint. We'll get into Rosario. We're going to check out Coloso Marcelo B. Sila. And that's home to Newell's Old Boys, actually. Now, for those who don't know about that club, they're a historic Argentine side. But one interesting thing about Newell's Old Boys, this was the club that Lionel Messi originally played at before he went to Barcelona. Before he began the Barcelona's youth facility, Lionel Messi came into that part. So yeah, fun fact. Then from there we'll head southeast. We'll continue our way to our second stop at Sierra Alpha Victor Oscar. That would be stop number 2. And then our third and final stop take us to Buenos Aires. Now, of course, Buenos Aires has many historic stadiums today, and we could have visited a couple of other ones, but I want to keep it simple. So the three stadiums we'll be visiting. There is the Estadio Monumental, home of River Plate. It's the largest stadium in South America, 84,000 people. You have a couple waypoint here. Lots of stadiums in this part. In fact, Buenos Aires has more stadiums than most other cities. And you feel like London has a lot of this. Then we got a waypoint here, Huracan. But here is where the games can be held at the Estadio Alberto G. Almada. However, you all probably know it better as La Bombera, the historic ground of Boca. And then our last stop will be at Jorge Newbery Airport, Sierra Alpha Bravo Echo. So that's going to be where we're flying this afternoon. That's where we're going to be going. The plane we're taking today is the plane I have. This is my first time flying this thing in MSFS 2024. This is the A2E Comanche. Yes, I finally got it into the sim. It took me a bit of a while, but I finally got it. So I'm excited to actually get this thing up and going. Switch, fuel pump. Find the fuel tank for this thing. It's been a while since I've actually used this thing, so it's going to take me a second to find the fuel tank. I put the fuel tank in this. It's been... Like I said, do forgive me. This is my first time actually getting this thing on. Ready? I don't know exactly what happened. Hey, she's on. Finally. Like I said, it's been a while since I've flown this thing, so it's going to take me some bit of getting used to flying this Comanche again. I'm glad I get to have this back for you guys, so... But yeah, Super Classico, I'm very excited to see it. If you guys never seen the video of the Super Classico, Hope90 did a documentary in my Discord under the Gameday flights. Copa90 did a video on Super Classico. Really recommend watching to give a bit of a background with this game. But the atmosphere is absolutely insane. These two clubs do not like each other at all. Really hate each other. Um, but yeah, football in South America, quite different. So, so that. Okay. We're not gonna go super high altitude. 1,500 technically is the altitude we can fly, so I think we're gonna fly around 1,500 feet today. Guess in height. And we're up. There we go. And we're up. Let's go, everyone. We're finally back up even flying for a bit. I want to go too fast, so I'm going to try and lower the... So we're in Argentina today. So I want to go ahead and talk a little bit about our Super Classico. This epic rivalry matchup between Boca Juniors and River Plate. Very huge game today in Argentina. And Super Classico between the two biggest clubs in Argentina, Boca Juniors and River Plate. In fact, Classico has always meant in Spanish as Derby. In Super meaning the two most popular clubs in Argentina. In fact, the term Classico actually originated here in Argentina, particularly with this matchup, and then it was exported to other Spanish-speaking countries, particularly that in Mexico and Spain. In fact, according to some statistics, more than 70% of all Argentine fans are between these two clubs, and it's known worldwide as one of the most fiercest and important derbies in the world, according to a 2004 article. The Super Classico was among the top 50 sporting things to do before you die. And they said the Derby Day in Buenos Aires makes the Old Firm game in Scotland look like a primary school kickabout. The British football magazine 442 stated it's the biggest derby in the world, and Daily Mirror even put it #1 ahead of El Clasico. But yes, this is a huge matchup with lots on the line here in Argentina. So the history of this Super Classico and the history of this Super Classico is both River Plate and Boca Juniors actually came around working class document area of Buenos Aires, La Boca, with River actually being founded first in 1901, while Boca was founded in 1905. However, River Plate, moved over to the more affluent district of Núñez in 1925 in the north half of the city. Since then, Boca Juniors has been known as the Club of the Argentine Working Class, or the People's Club, with many Boca fans coming from the local Italian immigrant community, and they were known as the Zenonese, which is basically the Genoese. By contrast, River Plate became known for its nickname Los Millonarios, the millionaires, due to its supposedly upper-class support base. However, both clubs have supporters from all different kinds of social classes. By 1913, both clubs had their fields in La Boca and have not won a league. And being far away from the popularity that they were now known nowadays. Before that happened, the most well-known Argentine rivalry was between Alumni and Belgrano AC. And then the first of the big five of Argentina to win a championship didn't even come from any one of those clubs. It came from Racing Club de Avellaneda. Before their official match, Boca and River have played two different friendlies, of course. However, the first matchup of this rivalry in 1913 was played August 24, 1913 at Racing Club Stadium. With River Plate winning 2-1, 7,000 spectators attended the match, and goals were scored by Candido Garcia and Emilio Pereira. And Marcos Meyer are all the people scoring goals. Of course, the Super Classico is noted for among fans. In fact, BBC described it as a sea of colorful flowing banners, screams, roars, chanting, dancing, and never-ending fireworks. And in fact, both their stadiums are known to bounce with jumping of fans. Of course, also a lot of fans pick on the others. Sometimes these rivalries can be incredibly intense, so much so that at times the match has been known to end in fights between the violent factions of both sides of the fan base or with the police. And then, of course, the Boca fans refer to River supporters as chickens with lack of guts, even though River traces back to La Boca. Well, River fans called the Boca rivals Los Chanchitos, little pigs, due to how much the area smells. But yeah, these two don't like each other. The rivalry has also affected many players too, particularly those who transfer between the two clubs. One of those being the first person, Cadero Spitale, when he left Boca Soccer River in 1933. There was Oscar Reguera, who moved from River to Boca in 1985. He said, "It's not easy. I can tell you, one side looks at you as a player, and the other doesn't really trust you. You need to take time, need time to adapt, and a lot of care to win people over. Some people don't even go to the other side ever again." One interesting that happened was in the 21st of the 2010 tournament. Two teams actually played in La Barbera, and during the 9th minute of play, due to the heavy rainfall in Buenos Aires, the match was suspended. The pitch was flooded, but in spite of this, the referee at the time said the match could still be played. And of course, the two teams were able to keep possession because the water bogged down, forced them to restart the match 4 days later. And it became the first suspended Super Classico in history. So there is that. Well, there was also a fan crushing in 1960. It was the Puerto 12 tragedy in Gate 12. When on a 1968 Super Classico at El Magno, 71 fans were killed in a fan crush at Gate 12, which left 150 fans injured. It was the worst incident in the history of Argentine football, and many of the dead were teenagers and young adults. There are various claims that happened. Some say that the disaster happened because Boca Junior fans threw burning River flags, caused stampede. Others stated that the River fans were out of the Boca section, causing a stampede of visiting fans. No one knows what really happened. they had to actually change the gates. One interesting thing that happened since the turn of the century was that the rivalry intensified at different levels since the turn of the century. There's been a series of fierce meetings and violent events that rekindled international attention for this derby. Boca Juniors of River, both in the 2000 Copa Libertadores and the 2004 Copa Libertadores, which is basically the South America equivalent of the Champions League, by the way, for all those in Europe. In 2011, something historic happened. River Plate was relegated for the first time in its history, and the Boca Junior fans will never let that one down. However, since being re-promoted, River Plate has eliminated Boca in quite a few tournaments. Copa Sudamerica for a few years, Copa Libertadores, Argentina Super Cup, and more. Lifting the trophy on all these occasions, they've actually been more successful. One interesting game that happened, however, was the 2015 Copa Libertadores players, where River Plate players were attacked by a Boca fan that used pepper spray, and the game was suspended. And Commonwealth opened a lot of disciplinary stuff to Boca Junior. And as a result, Boca were disqualified due to some of the fans' craziness. River Plate, however, advanced to the quarterfinals and later won the tournament. But one very interesting thing that happened was in 2018, during the Copa Libertadores finals, the bus carrying the Boca Junior players was attacked by River Plate fans who threw objects after the police withdrew. And the game was suspended, and despite Boca's attempts to have River Plate disqualified, the game was moved to Europe. Yes, Madrid. Yes, the game was moved into Madrid. This was very rare. You don't see game moving to Europe. After drawing 2-2 La Rivera and losing home field advantage, Rivergate famously won the game 3-1 after extra time, the 5-3 aggregate, and River Plate beat Boca in the finals. And this was really unique because this was the first time it played in Europe, and it gave the attention to this derby outside of South America. That basically includes some bit of the notes of the history of this derby. So, that covers the history of the Super Classico. But so here's our PA-20 Comanche. Like I said, it's been a long time since I've flown the Comanche, so I'm going to get back into this aircraft. He's an absolute joy. You guys are more than welcome to come along with us. Here's the route for today's flight. And we're in the Southeast Asia server. Any of you guys want to join along in and join me along this flight? So we're mainly flying along on the Piranha River. We're mainly flying over today. We're doing pretty good here. Afternoon, of course. So this is a bit about the history of the Super Classico. That covers a bit of our history lesson for the Super Classico. There are many team players and teams that have huge moments, of course. But both these clubs have won an insane number of trophies together. Combined, they've won a total of 146 trophies put together. Now, of course, one interesting thing I do want to talk about the Argentine League for a bit as we get back to the cockpit, of course. Thing I do want to talk about here, of course, is a bit about Argentine football. So, believe it or not, a lot of you guys don't know about this, but the Argentina Football League, the Liga Professional de Football, the Primera Division, actually the second oldest football league. Uh, it's one of the oldest football leagues in the world, believe it or not. Founded back in 1891, it's actually the first country outside of the UK to establish a football league. Yes, that's right. This technically makes it the first. Um, this technically makes it the first football league to be established outside of the UK. That's to put this in perspective. This league is older than La Liga, in Spain's La Liga, Italy's Serie A, Germany's Bundesliga, France's Ligue 1. That's right. This league is older than basically most of the others. It's a very old league. Um, it's very old. Lots of tradition. Um, and of course, in the earlier years, in fact, this is about 3 years older than England's league. So that's pretty crazy to think about. It's only 3 years older than um, originally only teams from Buenos Aires, the Greater Buenos Aires area, La Plata, Rosario were part of the National Association, but other teams from other cities of Argentina would join years later. One very interesting thing about Argentina has always been the formats. For one, the Argentina League currently has around 28 teams, which is about 8 more than the than than England's league, which has only 20. And each, including 26 from the previous season, and 2 are promoted from the second division. One interesting thing about the format, of course, for the championship is that participating teams play each other in a round-robin system. Even the most points is crowned champion. However, the way they do relegation is unique. Now, in most other leagues, whoever places in the bottom gets relegated. However, in Argentina, it's based on an average. And basically, for Argentina, at the end of the season, the 2 teams with the worst 3-year averages were relegated. While the winner and runner-up of the Premier and National Championship, the second division, are promoted. Why is this important? Well, that's how River Plate got relegated, because they had the worst 3-year average, and that's how they got the historic relegation. Crazy to think about. They also have a couple different domestic cups, including the Trofeo de Campeones de la Liga Profesional, the National Cup of Argentina, and they also have the Copa de Liga Professional competition as well. But it's very unique, though, compared to many other areas in Argentine football. In Argentina, there are 5 big clubs in Argentina. The Big 5 is the 5 biggest clubs in the country. Now, our matchup today is 2 of the big ones, Boca Juniors and River Plate. But there are actually 3 other clubs that make the Big 5. Obviously, I mentioned this. I covered Racing Club de Avellaneda. That's one of the Big 5. One of the Big 5 clubs in Argentina. But there are 2 other ones. First is, of course, their historic rival, Racing's historic rival, Club Atlético Independiente, which is also in Avellaneda as well. And finally, the last of the Big 5 is San Lorenzo, which plays in the Bueno neighborhood of San Lorenzo. So there are 5 main clubs, and they're the 5 most successful clubs in Argentina. So, very historic stuff. So that's where we're coming here today with Argentina. So, yeah, I updated the flight plan, so we're going to visit the Big Five of Argentina. So we're going to go visit them pretty. So I hope you guys had a good plans for the weekend, of course. For this week, of course, will be, of course, Murph's going to be back later today on his stream. He'll be doing a DC flight from the Yukon to Alaska. He'll be travel to Faro, Mayo, Dawson City, and then Eagle Airport in Alaska. This should be a lot of fun. Then Saturday, Allison's going to be back with another one of her recreational flights. She'll be covering another one of the Amy Johnson historical recreation. She'll be doing a Jennifer Murray series. She'll be flying from E60 Floyd to El Paso and then to Del City before returning back to El Paso. So she's got another one of her historical flights. And then on Sunday, for us, we'll be doing another one of our national park series. And this one's going to be a beautiful one, guys. We're going to be in Glacier on Sunday. We're going to be doing Glacier National Park in Montana. It'll be a gorgeous flight. So that's where we're going here today. But yeah, Boca Juniors is far and away the biggest game this Sunday, of course. So, huge matchup. Should make our landing here. We should be descending here pretty shortly. We're going to descend back and make our first landing here in Rosario Airport here this morning. Should be pretty simple. Once we land, we'll talk about Boca Juniors for a bit. The historic club Boca. We'll talk about Boca Juniors once we get each. That is where we're going to be covering this week. So that is where we're going to be doing this week. So big stuff going on, just for recapping, of course. For the World Series, the Dodgers won it all, but for other sports, for the NFL this week, we're going to be doing the Colts are going to be playing this Sunday, 9:30 a.m. A 9:30 a.m. game in Berlin, actually. So it's going to be an early morning game for the Colts. But they did get a big trade this past weekend, getting Sauce Gardner from the Jets. which was definitely a needed trade. The Colts needed some secondary help, and the Jets gave us Sauce Gardner. Can't go wrong with that. So, very excited for that. For the NHL this year, of course, we're going to be doing an NHL matchup in this series. Our first one would be the Maple Leafs Canadiens. Should be a lot of fun for that one. Very excited to talk about the Maple Leafs Canadiens, the two of the biggest, most historic NHL clubs, NHL franchises. But to recap this week, the best team in the Eastern Conference this year has either been the Montreal Canadiens or the New Jersey Devils or the Pittsburgh Penguins have been the top three in the Eastern Conference this year. Our Maple Leafs are 17 points, which is not bad. Not bad for the Maple Leafs. For the Western Conference, the best team probably in the NHL in terms of points is the Avalanche, followed by the Anaheim Ducks. Then the Jets and Mammoth round out the top four. So, important stuff. In terms of the NBA this year, obviously in the Western Conference is not surprised. The Thunder have been really good. But the Lakers and Rockets are all doing pretty well here. The Lakers are doing extremely well here with Luka and LeBron. Definitely putting in work. Well, the Eastern Conference, it's been the Bulls of all teams first. And yet the Pistons not far behind. Crazy stuff in the NBA this year. There's our airport down here. We're going to go ahead and turn off our autopilot. Connect our autopilot. We're going to finally descend. Beautiful river view here to our left. Full shot of the Piranha River. So I wanted to ask you guys in the chat if you guys have any really interesting ideas. So I'll be mainly heading out next week. So Sunday will be the last stream in a while. As for the next game day flight that will be on the Sunday we come back, on the Friday we come back after we come back. November 28th will be the next stream, of course. I ended up choosing. It was a tough one, and there were multiple really good games. Real Betis Sevilla game, Roma and Napoli. But guys, there's only one game that this actually fits on the 28th. We're coming back, and that's Ohio State versus Michigan. It's the biggest rivalry in American sport. I have to cover it. It just wouldn't be right to not talk about Ohio State Michigan. It's the biggest game on the schedule by far. And as for college football this year, Ohio State's still the #1 team in the country. And of course, Michigan is 21st, and they're on a 3-game win streak. So if they can win a couple more games by the time I get back, we might potentially see a #1 ranked Ohio State taking on a 7-2 Michigan, which could potentially be, depending on where you put it, could be in the top 15. So Ohio State, Michigan, I mean, I can't go wrong with it. It's the biggest college football rivalry. It has to be on the schedule. That's tough because the thing is, on the day we get back, 28th, I mean, there's also Sevilla Betis. That's a huge rivalry. Sevilla and Betis are absolute huge rivals. Alabama Auburn is important. That's a big rivalry. Sevilla Real Betis is one of Spain's biggest derbies. And of course, Roma and Napoli, those are two of the best teams in Italy. Ohio State, Michigan, it's only once a year, so I have to pick. Here, guys, Rosario Airport. Gonna use this to die down any altitude, so we're just going to do this. Die down speed, altitude. Going to make landing number 1. Early, take our landing. Or just trim. Here it is, guys, our landing this. Here it is, guys, our first landing of this afternoon stream here in Rosario. First landing. This should be. Yeah, nice to get back in this Comanche. I enjoy her. Go ahead and get her Parker right. Okay. So that is like number 1, everyone. Here in Rosario. You guys are more than welcome to join on in, of course. So get everything parked up and ready. We're here for just a little bit. If you guys want to join on in, Southeast Asia, and we're in Sierra Alpha Alpha Romeo. So we'll join us here. Yeah, River Plate, big game Sunday. Absolutely massive matchup. In terms of Argentina's football state, Boca Juniors is the top team in Argentina, at least for the A. For the Group A standings, they're the top team in there. Above, their second place in the Amateur Group A. In terms of the Argentine League, Boca Juniors is the top team in Group A. While Group B, of course, River Plate are not doing too well this year. They're 6th in this Group B standings. Rosario Central is the top club in the Group B. Remember, there's a lot of teams playing in Argentina. Yeah, the standings are definitely unique. They have two different groups of standings. Apertura and the Clausura. Very different standings, of course. And basically play two halves of 32 games. What they're doing this year, Argentine. And for this season, at least. But basically, the Argentine League this year, by the way, is two different tournaments. The Apertura tournament, the Clausura tournament with 5 stages. In the first stage, teams are grouped into 2 groups or zones of 15 teams and play in a single round robin format. The winner of the Aperture tournament in Clausura will qualify for the Copa Libertadores. So that's what's been going on here. So far, Boca Juniors is the top team in the Clausura. Fortunately for Zone A, for Group B, River Plate are part of the round 16. They're having their own turn. Kind of weird, but that's how the Argentine League's set up. Very different. We're going to go ahead and get back into the plane. I guess we're going back. Our heading for this one is going to be 128. So we're mainly here in so we're going to Rosario. We're going to head up here. We're going to fly. Hey, Bonnies player. Good afternoon, my dude. Welcome on in. I hope you're doing well. We're in Argentina today. We're going to be covering for this upcoming super classical matchup, Boca Juniors River Plate. So we're heading flying over Rosario today. We're going to reach our first waypoint, and that is we're going to check the home of Newell Old Boys. This is where Lionel Messi played for a lot of his youth before he had to go to FC Barcelona. Then we're going to be heading towards Buenos Aires, home of Boca Juniors. Once we go over there, we're going to talk about Boca Juniors for a bit. there is the Rosario Stadium of Newell's Old Boys. So we'll turn. Here's our picture here, right on the banks of Friar River. So, but yeah, this game, by the way, Ibanez, since 1913, it's the biggest game in Argentina, if not probably the biggest rivalry in the world. The most heated one in the world by far. Sorry, so we're going to go ahead and turn right. I think of 143. So, let's talk a bit about Boca Juniors, one of the two clubs we'll be covering today. So, Boca, this historic club, known as Club Atletico Boca Juniors, based in the neighborhood of Buenos Aires of La Boca, hence the name. Its professional football team has been around since 1930 and has always played in the top flight. It has never been relegated from the Argentine top division. This historic club has won 60 professional titles, second club by far in Argentina. Internationally, this club has won 22 titles, organized by CONMEBOL, the rest by jointly by Argentine and Uruguayan associations. In fact, consequently so, Boca Juniors is ranked third in the world in terms of international titles, only trailing, of course, by Real Madrid in Spain, and the Egyptian side of Al Ahly, 26. And some of their achievements include one Thai Cup, Copa de Honor Concir in Argentina and Uruguay, and the Copa Escobar Girona. In fact, their success has put them among the top clubs in the world ranking, and was named the top South American club in the first half of the 20th century. And FIFA even designated Boca Juniors as the joint 12th best club of the century, taking the same place as Liverpool of England, Italy's Internazionale, or Inter Milan, and Portugal's Benfica. Yeah, it's a very historically successful club. It is an absolute titan of a club. Of course, Boca Juniors also has other sports too, but football is by far Boca's biggest thing to. Of course, Boca Juniors is, of course, its colors, the blue and gold. According to the club's official site, the original jersey color was actually a white shirt with thin black stripes. Then they replaced it with the light blue shirt and another one with striped jersey before adopting the definitive blue and gold. However, another version of the legend stated that their first jersey was actually pink, but it was questioned by some journalists and historians. Apparently, there was a legend in 1906 where both teams wore similar shirts, and the match decided which team would keep it, and Boca lost and adopted the colors of the flag of the first boat that sailed out of the port of La Boca, and it proved to be a Swedish ship, so they adopted the yellow and blue. Now, of course, one interesting thing about of course, they've worn many kits, but the blue and gold has been worn since 1907. Of course, the badges historically got a couple of different badge designs. It has had 5 different ones throughout its history, of course. But the outline has unchanged throughout most of history. The first known emblem dates back to 1911. However, what changed the iconic shield was in 1932 when the club stated that 1-star badge would be added for each division title they won, and it didn't appear until 1943. Of course, the one we know of in 1932 has been part of their shirts 1903. That's the Boca Juniors you see. Good old blue and gold. Iconic colors for an iconic club. Now, of course, we talk about the historic round of and one of the most cherished and storied stadiums in the world, La Bombonera. Now, officially, it's known as the Estadio Alberto Jose Armado, but most people call it La Bombonera, aka the chocolate box, because of its resemblance to an actual chocolate box in terms of its design. This legendary stadium in Buenos Aires is located in the neighborhood of La Boca, and it's one of the world's most iconic stadiums due to its unique design, club's rich history, absolutely intense atmosphere. It is host to many noteworthy players such as Diego Maradona, Lionel Messi, Alfredo Di Stefano, Pele, and more. It is declared to be a public interest by the government of Buenos Aires, and it's also been a concert venue hosting concerts of Lenny Kravitz, Elton John, James Blunt, and the Backstreet Boys. Of course, the design of the stadium has led to have excellent acoustics and the support known as La Doce. So this stadium is really unique. One of the reasons why this is such a unique stadium has been in development. It's very cramped, have a lot of space, and if you look at the picture, hey, Splash 6, good to see ya. So if you look at the picture design of La Bombonera, you would notice that you have 3 stands, but one of those isn't covered. It's because it is very cramped. It also features a lot of noteworthy artwork and murals around the stadium, including many legendary players, especially Diego Maradona. That's where he got his career started, was in Boca. And of course, this stadium loves to shake during matches. Fans of Boca Juniors, absolutely crazy. It doesn't shake, it beats. And this stadium is pretty crazy. Its capacity, by the way, is 58,000 people, which is crazy. 58,000. And tickets are really hard to get here, especially during Derby Day. There's also a really great museum here too that talks about the rich history of this club, a Hall of Fame, mural, football items, and more. But really cool stadium. It's rich character. The atmosphere in this place is second to none. You ever watch a DVD? Absolutely crazy. And of course, matching this really cool stadium and this is gotta be the supporters. And Boca Juniors has always been known as the one for the working class. Compare that to River Plate's more traditionally known upper class band. Boca Junior claims to be this club to be half plus one of Argentina's population, the largest share of any Argentine fan with 40%. Boca Juniors usually play their league games in front of capacity crowds. The popularity made tickets very hard to come by. So you're very lucky to get tickets. And believe it or not, its member base is absolutely huge. 314,000 members for Boca Junior, which is second worldwide only to Bayern Munich in Germany, and first in Argentina and South America. So yes, lots of members, and they got members from all over. They also have a society dedicated to all the activities. The 12th player, La Doce, that's their 12th man, and very passionate fans, and of course, they have fan clubs from all over the world, not just in Argentina, but you can find fan clubs in Russia, Ukraine, Spain, Israel, and Japan. And they also have groups across Latin America and the United States. But yes, Boca Juniors massive fan base all over the place. Not just Argentina, but the world. Absolutely huge fan base. Very passionate. Both Argentine fans are very passionate. And in terms of legendary players, this is, after all, they have a heap of legendary talent. Here do we begin with legendary talents. Of course, the name on top of the list is Diego Maradona. If you guys don't know who any football fan that doesn't know about Diego Maradona is living under a map. Because Maradona is considered by many to be one of the greatest players of all time. One of the two top players of the 20th century, along with Pele, as the greatest player in the history of the but he got his start at Boca. He originally played a couple of games at Argentino Juniors, but he had 2 whole stints in Boca Juniors. In fact, he played at Boca before he went to Barcelona. He actually got started at Argentino Juniors, but he became a Boca Juniors legend for both his playing career as a club. But Maradona is one of the all-time great players, especially if you're Argentine. No player top of the list than him. Definitely a football icon in Argentina. His legend is eternal. I mean, he'll play for the club. In terms of legendary players, then you have Juan Roman Recamele, very well-known middle infielder. He was a big part. He is one of the greatest playmakers of all time, and an absolute Boca Juniors legend. He had 2 whole stints in Boca, 1996 to 2002, and then 2007 to 2014. A club legend. Then you have Martin Palmeiro, their all-time league goal scorer for Boca's. Had 2 different stints at the club. Scored 236 goals with Boca. Then you have Roberto Chero, who was a big player during the earlier years of the 1920s to 30s. He played 221 goals in 305 games. And he is he's still one of the top scorers in Argentine football history. He's an old legend, but definitely a golden player. You have Roberto Muzo. He is their all-time leader of appearances, played from 1971 to 1994, and one of the great idols of Boca Juniors. Silvio Marzaroni, from 1960 to 1972, and he played as the best. He's known as the best Argentine left back of all time. Played for the club from 1960 to 1972. Antonio Ratin, another club legend. In fact, Ratin is the one who inspired the red, yellow, and red flags that you see in the games. Is the guy who actually led to its creation. But he's a Boca Juniors legend. Ernest Lozatti, legend as well from the 1930s and 40s. He was a big part of he won 10 titles at the club. Then you have Carl Tevez, who played in 3 different stints with the club. He's one of their top goal scoring players. English fans probably know him more for Manchester City, but he was a Boca Juniors player. And finally, of course, there are many more icons of Boca Juniors. But Maradona, yeah, the hand of God. Yeah, Maradona, he was the goal scorer of Argentina. He had the hand of God in one of the World Cups. Definitely a controversial call, but Diego Maradona is, of course, a legend. He's an Argentine legend in general. But in terms of coaches, there are multiple legendary coaches. Their first major coach recorded is Mario Fortuno, who'd been a player before he became a team, and Fortuno led them to 5 different titles. But the most successful coach in their history is Carlos Bianchi, who won 9 titles, including the Aperturas in 3 different stints, the 1999 Clausura title, the Copa Libertadores in 2000, 2001, 2003, in the FIFA Intercontinental Cup in 2000, 2003. We also have 2 other title-winning coaches, Juan Carlos Lorenzino, who won 5 titles during his first tenure of Boca Juniors, and Alfio Basile, winning 5 titles throughout the 2000s. All of them within 2 years. And finally, here are some honors that this club has had over the years. Yeah, these are the honors this club has won. 72 trophies, including all the different titles they've won, national cups they've won over the years, international trophies. The Copa Libertadores, that's their version of the Champions League. But yes, Boca Juniors, absolutely massive club. Really rich history, of course. There's no question. It's one of the world's biggest, and rightfully so. So that is Boca Juniors. That covers Boca. I do want to briefly show you the website for Boca Juniors. Here's their official website, of course. And yes, some of this stuff is Spanish. But the nice thing is I can actually, this site also comes in English too. I'm gotta find the language change. Here's the Boca Juniors website, of course. Yeah, Boca's got a massive fan base. Massive shop, of course. Some of the stuff is Spanish. Some of the stuff has easy to translate stuff, but I can also use my thing. You can look at their history, you can look at their titles, their club, the identity. Got some accessory. Boca Juniors, massive club. Rich history, of course. You can find all sorts of Boca gear. Boca Juniors, absolutely massive. Yeah, La Bombera, the one and only La Bombera. Yeah, they got pictures of where the stadium was built, of course, and renovations. But yeah, some of these pictures are absolutely. Yeah, it's a very unique stadium. Very unique stadium, very unique atmosphere. That if you want to look at. And yes, you can even take tours of the place too. And yes, you can actually take a tour here. You can actually take a tour of La Bombera. You can get it from sites like Get Your Guide or Theater, and they'll let you take a tour of the stadium. Really cool ground. Really cool stuff. Yes, the Maradona Hand of God. Yeah. That one was definitely one of the most controversial goals of all time. That is unquestionably his most controversial moment, of course. The infamous Hand of God goal. And then he scored one more goal in that same game. Um, his goal of the century against England, and that ended up helping Argentina beat England in the World Cup. It allowed to allow him to claim the World Cup. Yeah. Pretty important stuff going on. So we're about to arrive at our next stop. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the autopilot here. And we're going to just send, I'm going to just start to send. We're going to descend because we're getting close to stop number 2 of this trip. Sierra Alpha Victor Oscar. Then afterwards, we'll talk a bit about their rivals, River Plate. Very important. I'll be more happy to talk about that. Yeah, La Bombera, 50,000. The record tens was 57,000. So in terms of other games this weekend, of course, for other sports, but for football this weekend, of course, some of the other big matches this weekend. Today, um, today we have the MLS playoffs. Charlotte in New York City FC. Then in terms of the biggest game today would be Elche Real Sociedad. And Elche, pretty big. But tomorrow's got the bigger games. The Premier League has Tottenham and Manchester United. Everton's playing Fulham. Um, Sunderland Arsenal is going to be a big one. Sunderland are overperforming, and they're taking on a really good Arsenal team. Italy, the biggest game. Italy this tomorrow would be Juventus and Torino. Spain's got a big matchup. Espanyol Villarreal's a big one coming up. Germany, of course, has Bayern's taking on Union Berlin. France is pretty underrated. Lens and Monaco going at it. And then Sunday's got, of course, our big matchup, El Super Classico. Huge game Sunday in Argentina. Boca Juniors River Plate. So, of course, there's Lyonnais PSG, Celta Vigo Barcelona, Inter and Lazio is also another big one, but not on this week. We're getting very close to our second stop. We'll talk about River Plate. Yes, I really do love the game day stuff. I'm having a lot of fun with these game day stuff. It's been a lot of fun, and it's great to take some GA and do something that I enjoy. Here we go, guys. We're going to be making our landing here. So, basically, though, if I had to pick a favorite Argentine team, I do like River Plate. Pretty cool. But, I mean, lots of different clubs to pick from. Before you ask, Argentina also has the southernmost football club. Um, but ice hockey is actually popular in the southern part of Argentina. Is ice hockey, crazily enough. Thanks to its low temperature year round, it actually make it one of the few places in South America to have hockey. In fact, this city is the reason why Argentina became an associate member status of the International Ice Hockey Federation. So yes, Argentina's hockey thing is actually from here. It's from the very south part of the city. But they mostly have local clubs. We're going to land runway 10. I think we see our airport down here. Guys, so we're about to make our first landing very. Here we go. First landing of the day. So, so basically for this series, of course, after this one, for the game day flight, after the one we're doing with Ohio State, Michigan on the 28th turn, the next one afterwards is going to be our first ever NHL series, first ice hockey matchup we're going to be covering here. I know this was a tough one because I also did Benfica Sporting and Dinamo Zagreb in them. But ultimately, I chose Canadian Maple Leafs because it's the only time this season where the Maple Leafs and Canadians meet. So, again, we never did an ice hockey stream, so that would be a lot of fun to cover. Huge rivalry and a very historically significant rivalry. Like I said, I do extra bonus points if this is a rivalry matchup because those always have more bite. Oh, strip. How much you got? For now. Welcome to San Pedro Airport. Here we go, guys. We're going to stop here. So we're going to stay here for just a bit. We're going to use this to catch our breath. Prepare for the next leg to Buenos Aires. So So we're going to go ahead and prepare for the final leg. We got only one leg left to go in this flight, and that is to Buenos Aires. And we're going to talk about the last of the major Argentine clubs. River Plate. And we're going to go this direction, and we're going to here we go. Here we go. We're going to be flying at around 12. So we're going to go ahead and cover a very big one here. We're going to cover River Plate. So River Plate, by the way, they're known officially as Club Atlético River Plate. This was founded in 1901, and it's named after the English name of the sea estuary, Rio de la Plata. The home stadium is the largest in all South America, the Monumental. It has the highest average home attendance of any association football club in the world. 84,000 people. Yes, more people attend average attendance of this stadium than clubs like Real Madrid, FC Barcelona, Borussia Dortmund, AC Milan, Inter Milan, and any of those. Yes, more people attend those on average than any other game. They also have one of the largest sports clubs in the world with memberships at 350,000 people. And it's one of the big five of Argentina. In terms of this, they're actually Argentina's most successful club domestically with 38 titles, as well as the most successful in domestic competitions with 60 national cups. Internationally, they've won 18 titles, including 4 Copa Libertadores, an Intercontinental Cup, and more. In terms domestically, River Plate are ranked first in all-time Primera Division table, the most points, the most matches, and the highest win percentage, as well as the first in the historical table of the Copa Libertadores, with the South American team with the most games won points. And they were also the highest ranking Argentine club in the Club of the Century, ranked 9th in the FIFA Club of the Century in 2000. And in 2016, according to the Argentine Football Association, 6 out of the 11 players of the all-time greatest Argentina national team have played for the club. So they are a massive club. But yeah, massive club, rich history. We're not going to talk about the history because that would take forever, of course. It would probably take forever. Far too long to talk about the rich history of. Of course, River Plate's uniqueness comes from its badge. So historically, the badge, the team's jersey has badge in front as a symbol of institution. However, when the River Plate jersey was created, it did not have a badge, and presence varied throughout history. Currently, it's embroidered in the jersey with three colors of the club: red, white, and black. Um, Format resembles that of the jersey and the red stripe that crosses it. Part of the club is the red stripe. That's been part of the kit since 1904, but it hasn't been permanently been established until 1932. It's the iconic red band, and eventually the logo was chosen to be the lion, of course, because they wanted to eradicate the nickname the Hens that the Rivers rivals, mainly Boca Juniors, used to mock him at. And eventually they chose it to be a lion wearing a River jersey in the Monumental Stadium. It was designed by Claudio Loiseau, who was the brother of the famous prolific artist and cartoonist Eloy. Once approved, that emblem was debuted in 1985, and it lasted until 1989. In 2022, they updated the corporate image, now be a brand new one. That is, but yeah, this was one of the original badges of River Plate to our right. One of the original badges. Of course, this club has had many historic nicknames over the years. Has had many historical nicknames. River Plate was chosen in 1901 because the team is still located in the Boca neighborhood. River fans, of course, of River Plate, they are very fond of the nickname Los Millonarios, the millionaires, due to some of the expensive transfers the club had during the 1930s, including Carlos Pucel in 1931 and Bernabé Ferrer in 1932. Of course, due to the unique red band on the shirt's colors, it's very often common to refer to them as El Equipo de la Banda, team of the band, or simply La Banda, the band. And of course, the River Plate forwards during the 40s were given the nickname La Maquina, machine, due to their synchronization. But basically, for all those purposes, the main nickname for the club, Los Millonarios, is their big nickname that people know them as. Now, when we talk about their stadium, of course, and we're going to be visiting in Buenos Aires, we have to talk about the largest stadium in South America. Whereas Boca Juniors Stadium is very intimate, tightly crammed and intimate. Then you have to hold her into the scale being River Plate's massive El Monumental. This is the largest stadium in South America. Opened back in 1938. Official name is Los Monumental for sponsorship reasons. It was named after the former club president Antonio Vespucio Libertari. It's the largest stadium in Argentina and all of South America with 85,000 people. And it's the official home of the Argentine national team. It also hosted the 1951 Pan American Games and even hosted the 1978 World Cup Finals between Argentina and the Netherlands. If you want to talk about record attendance, the most people to ever attend a River Plate match was back in 1975. 100,000 people attended that game against Racing Club Avellaneda. Massive. This stadium has hosted not just major football matches. This is a very popular concert venue in Buenos Aires. It is extremely popular for concerts, as it's the biggest in the city in all of Argentina. Fans, of course, include Sting, performed here. Human Rights Now Benefit Concert 1988 played there. Prince played there. Elton John, Guns N' Roses. Michael Jackson played there. Rolling Stone, Madonna, AC/DC played there. Coldplay. And they played 10 shows at the stadium there too. Iron Maiden and more. Lots of concerts have played here at the Stadio Monument. The stadium did undergo a pretty big renovation in the 2010s. And they also removed the track and field. The athletic track also got removed too, but it's an absolutely gargantuan stadium. Huge. Biggest in Argentina. Question. And outside of that, it also features tennis, facilities for tennis, basketball, other sports, living quarters for young footballers, a theater hall, parking lot, and museum are all included the facilities as well. But yes, absolutely incredible stadium, especially if you're a sports fan. Great place to do. In terms of supports, and they easily match their rivals for sure in terms of support. There's no question. They have a massive amount of support, the highest of any associated club in the world. They actually sold out 48 home matches in a row during the year. In 2012, they unveiled the world's longest football flag, which 15,000 supporters took part of it. And it was made entirely by fans, and they carried the whole 7,830 flag across the streets of Buenos Aires. Yes, a massive football flag. They carried that. And they have fan bases all across, not just Argentina. They have fan clubs in Spain, Mexico, Australia, the US, Paraguay, and Canada, as well as unofficial fan clubs in many other corners of the world, even New Zealand, Israel, and Australia. They have absolute massive amount of fan support, massive amounts, excessive. In terms of legendary players, of course, River Plate has a lot of historic and legendary talents in its history, especially with its legendary youth academy, has produced some insane talents from all across the globe. And where do I even begin with this? And the first player I mentioned here may just be River Plate's all-time greatest player in River Plate history, if not one of the top players to ever play the sport. And he was third all-time in the 20th century, and that is none other than Alfredo Di Stefano. Born in Buenos Aires, played for much of his youth career at River Plate. He played his first couple years at River Plate from 1945 to 1949, and that was before he played for Millonarios in Bogota. Then eventually he played most of his prime career at Real Madrid. However, he got his start here at River Plate, and he became one of the all-time greatest players ever. He's an all-time legend of the sport. And of course, then you have the number 5 ranked player of all time, and one of the club icons himself, and that is Jose Manuel Moreno, El Charro, major forward. He is one of the all-time greatest players of all time. Compared those to the big 3, and he is the first player to ever win 4 division league first division titles in 4 countries, and he played for the vast majority of his career at River Plate. 256 appearances as well, and he is a legendary player for River Plate. Then you have Adolfo Panera El Maestro, big player of the 1940s and one of Argentina's greatest talents. Omar Zavori, he's the 16th ranked player in the 20th century. He played for River Plate before he made his way to Juventus. He played for River Plate for 3 years before he went to Juventus, one of Italy's biggest clubs. Angel Labruna, he is actually the second lead all-time scorer in the Argentina First Division. Daniel Pasarero, one of the greatest defenders of all time. Then you have Oscar Moss. He is their second all-time goal scorer of River Plate's history. Played for the 60s and 70s club. Roberto Alonso, known as Beto, he won 9 titles a year. He's one of the best South American players in the world during the 70s. And many, many more. There's so many legendary talents of River Plate. I don't even know where to begin. All the legendary players. But yes, River Plate as a club, extremely rich history. So many legendary talents have played for the club over the past 100+ years. In terms of notable managers, notable people up, the most successful manager all time for River Plate was actually Marcelo Gallardo. He was appointed back from 2014 until November 22, and River Plate won most of its international championships during his time with 13 different titles. And more specifically, he won nearly most of its national championships, international titles during this time. 3-time Copa Argentina champions, 2-time Super Cup Argentina champions. However, he's been especially successful internationally. 2 Copa Libertadores, 1 Copa South America, 3 Copa South America 3 times, and even took home a international championship, J-League South America Championship, 2015. But there are other managers too. Ramon Diaz had 3 different tenures at the club, and he's been the most successful manager domestically. 6 league titles, and a Copa Campeonato title as well, all as the Copa Libertadores in 1996. Of course, there are a couple of other managers. Jose Maria Minella won titles with River Plate, including 8 titles with it, including 7 Argentina championships and a cup, 1947. And believe it or not, the legendary player Angel Labruna also was a successful coach too, with 6 Argentina championships. So yes, River Plate has had some amazing managers over the years, and they've been incredibly successful, winning all sorts of titles. So that covers a bit about the rich history of River Plate. And finally, our last slide for today, the club honors. And yeah, they've won more Argentina top titles for Argentina than any other club, even more so than Boca. They also have won 3 Super Cups, the Argentina Cups, 4 Copa Libertadores, and more. But they have a rich history, of course, and there's no question, this is absolutely a giant football. Rich history. So we're about 58 nautical miles to reach our way over to cover River Plate. But yeah, like I said, these clubs have a rich history and rich pageantry. So here it is, guys. Here is the here it is, guys. This is the River Plate website for Club Atletico River Plate, English part of the site. So you can talk about their history, their football, the institution. Sports Center, they got all sorts of different sports, membership, multimedia, and stuff. So the information and stuff about River Plate's massive stadium, of course, 85,000. Club with a rich history and a rich passion. Rich history, they got a lot of passion. And then they got the shop here too. Really cool stuff. So that is River Plate. So I hope you guys like the notes for today. Cover River Plate. Once I get done with the stream, I'll work on the Ohio State Michigan notes, the Ohio State Michigan game notes. I'll work on that. Shouldn't take too long to complete the notes for that. And we'll cover Ohio State Michigan. Now, before we get going, we will be covering Buenos Aires. So, well enough, football is a massive deal. Buenos Aires. It's one interesting thing to note is that Buenos Aires has the highest concentration of football teams of any city in the world. 18 of them at least 18 professional teams, with many of them in the top tier of Argentina. And there produced many rivalries in the city. Now, we talked about the Super Classico, of course, which is what today's stream is going to be about, the Super Classico. However, that's not the only major rivalry in the city. Other major rivalry in this city, by the way, is with the other two big clubs in Buenos Aires. Is the other two major stadiums in Argentina. And that is the Avellaneda Derby. That's also around the Buenos Aires area. Is the Avellaneda Derby. And that is the second most important rivalry in Argentine football. It's between Independiente and Racing. And it's still a huge rivalry. Dating back to 1907. In fact, this is even older than Super Classico. It's an older rivalry. And just like Super Classico, there have been periods of violence between the two clubs. But unlike Boca Juniors, this rivalry, the teams are less than 300 meters from each other. So it is very close to each other. And both these clubs have won tons of trophies too. Not nearly as much as Boca and River, but both these clubs have won over a dozen national first division titles. They have a combined total of winning 87 trophies. Most successful of the two has been Racing Club. Independiente has been the overall more successful club. In fact, Independiente have won 7 Copa Libertadores, which have won 7 of them. Which is actually the most of any club in South America. And they won most of them in the including 4 straight in the 70s. Yeah, major clubs have won. Very important stuff. But yeah, Argentina, there's lots of major derbies in Argentina. Tons of different clubs here in Buenos Aires. So we're going to check down soon. We're going to visit the stadiums, see the grounds of these historic Argentine clubs. And we're going to be checking out all 5 members of the Big Five today on this flight. We're going to be checking out, first is River Plate's home ground, Estadio Monumental. Then from there, we'll go to the Estadio Pedro Bidgain. That is San Lorenzo. Then from there, we're going to go east. We're going to visit, of course, the 2 clubs in Alavenda, Independiente and Racing Club. And then finally, the last of the Big Five, that club is Boca Juniors. So we're going to go all 5 of the big Buenos Aires stadiums soon. So very excited to explore this with you guys. I'm very, very much looking forward to it. So let's check our fuel tank. We're doing pretty good. We're doing good with the fuel, guys. Yeah, we're doing pretty good with fuel. Yeah, I love doing the stream, guys. I'm very excited to do the Michigan-Ohio State game coming up. That's a huge one, as always. Big stuff. And then after the Maple Leafs and Canadiens game, the 5th December, then the next one after that one is going to be a soccer matchup, I believe. I did think about originally Army versus Navy, but I'm actually going to do something a little different that day. I know Devil is going to probably be a fan of this one, but on December 12th, Ajax Feyenoord. Yes, we're going to be in the Netherlands on December 12th. Is going to be Ajax Feyenoord. You guys be looking, all you fans in the Netherlands are going to be quite happy about it. But yeah, we're going to do that one coming up. The 19th of December is going to be another NHL matchup. Actually, December 19th is going to be a pretty big soccer matchup. It's actually going to be an NFL matchup, Packers and Bears. Yes, Packers versus Bears is going to be our NFL matchup, finally. Oldest rivalry in the sport. Then the 26th of December, for Christmas, is going to be another NHL rivalry, and that is going to be the Oilers and Flames, the Battle of Alberta. That one should be a lot of fun. And January 2nd, I'm planning on January 2nd to be a pretty big one, of course. And it is going to be, I think is, oh yeah, January 2nd. There's only one game on that list. That's Celtic versus Rangers, Old Firm, on January 2nd. So we're going to have that one. And then finally, the 9th is going to be pretty big one. I would put it down, but January 9th is going to be an interesting one. So, yeah, looking forward to some of the future ones we're going to be doing. Looking forward to that. I think we're about to arrive into Buenos Aires, so we're going to go ahead and turn off the autopilot for a bit. Go. This is San Fernando International. Yeah, Buenos Aires definitely has several airports. The one we're visiting is Fort Newberry Airport, and this mainly is the Argentine airport. Um, and that's mainly the airport that serves a lot of domestic flights. It's named after the famous Argentine aviator Fort Newberry. Is the Argentine aviating legend. He was Argentina's aviation pioneer. Fortunately, he died in a plane crash in Mendoza at 38. But he did a lot of balloon stuff. He did a lot of balloon flights and aerostatics. But he became a main monoplane flyer in the 1910s. He became a sportsman, civil servant, and a man of science too. He became a very popular person for Argentina. He is a big legend in Argentine history. So that's why we're going to visit his airport. So that's where we're going to be here today. We're 25 nautical miles. We're just about to complete the last part of our leg. So, depending on which, we could probably raid a few people. So we're just going to descend slowly. So I think we see the Estadio Monumental in front of us. So, so there's the Estadio Monumental here in Buenos Aires. But Buenos Aires, by the way, a couple of other tidbits about the city. Some people don't know about this, but Buenos Aires is the biggest city in Argentina. 3 million people live here in the capital. Its urban area is at a colossal 13.9 million. Nearly 14 million people live in Argentina's urban area, and metro goes up to a whopping 16 million, which which is the 12th largest metro area in the world. And Buenos Aires is also a melting pot for many ethnic groups, very diverse city in the Americas, and it is a culturally incredibly rich city. Buenos Aires is bar none bustling with all sorts of culture, especially if you're a fan of theater, cinema. In fact, Buenos Aires has more theaters than any other city in the world. They have everything: musicals, ballet, comedy, circuses, and more. Of course, like I said earlier, it's an amazing sports city, particularly if you're a fan of football. There's no shortage of them here in Buenos Aires. So, here, guys, the Estadio Monumental. Welcome to Buenos Aires, everyone. Here, guys. This is the Estadio Monumental. Now we're going to turn to our right. This is the Estadio Monumental. Huge stadium, definitely very round and circular. Hosted plenty of events. Still has the track in it, of course. They got rid of the track and extended the stadium even further than it was. Buenos Aires, beautiful city. Could be a great. So, getting very close here to our next waypoint. Gonna fly into this park course. I hope you guys enjoy this stream. This has been a lot of fun, and like I said, it's nice we get to find some new areas we don't normally get to fly in. South America is one of those. Let's go ahead and cover. But yeah, Buenos Aires is a massive city. Sprawling. We're going to be coming up next to the home of San Lorenzo, one of the big five of Spain. Dating back to 1906. Their big rival, by the way, San Lorenzo's big rival is, of course, Huracan. And their derby is the third most important in Argentina. So, head and turn left. We're going to go ahead into Alavenda. And we're going to visit the two stadiums here in this part of the city. They're basically right next to each other. here it is. The two stadiums, literally 300 meters apart. There it is. There it is, guys. This is Alavenda's home stadium. Rounds at Alavenda. They're 300 meters apart. And finally, the last stadium, La Bombonera. Last stadium on this trip. Go ahead. And there is La Bombonera right there. Fortunately, like I said, it's not in the sim, and if I were to guess probably why, it's probably because it's not the national team stadium, so that's why La Bombonera is not there. There's Boca Juniors' home ground. There is third-party seating, I believe. On Flight Sim TO. There is our airport down here. Is there is an add-on that adds the beautiful stadium into the sim, but unfortunately, it's not. It's only for 2020. So no, or Newberry airports in Buenos Aires. So there it is, guys. Last stop. And that's it, everyone. We finally made it down to beautiful Buenos Aires. So we're going to go ahead and... Guys, we did it. Made it to Buenos Aires today. I hope you guys enjoyed this flight. This was a bunch of fun, of course. So we're going to be back on Sunday. We'll be doing Glacier National Park in beautiful Montana. You guys are absolutely going to love it there. Glacier is one of the most beautiful national parks in the country, and rightfully so. So we're going to say hello to MSFS 2020 official. We're going to rate their stream. Be back in Montana. So I hope you guys enjoyed this trip, and I hope you guys have a great start to your weekend. Take care, everyone, and have a fantastic rest of your day. Goodbye, everyone.